My name is Gerald Ramos, and I'm the Director of Retail Operations for ABM Security Company. This mall you're in presently is the Jackson Brewery, which is located in New Orleans, Louisiana. One of the things that we want to discuss today is the legal issues involved in shopping center security. I'm certain that one of the things that everybody would agree to is that shopping centers today are our main streets of yesterday. Young people, persons of teenage youth, persons who are now more capable of utilizing what money they make because they have more disposable income, are persons who we have to handle and we have to take care of in a proficient, professional manner. Teens in our malls are being invited by our marketing staffs. They're being marketed to so that when they come into the malls, our specialty stores, our stores that cater to our teens are able to have what they're looking for. The issues that we face today are that of liability issues. When they do come into the mall, we have to remember that merchants in our malls, such as the School of Cooking here in Louisiana, these merchants are paying a common area maintenance cost. And when they do that, they expect that our security officers provide them with a certain level of security. However, we have to remember that the normal mall security officer is involved in commons area security, that being parking lot security, employee entrance areas, vendor delivery areas, so and commons areas, so that we have to differentiate between tenant security and commons area security.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, you guys need to keep moving, continue your shopping. I can have you stopping on the rails. There's chairs and benches if you want to rest. Thank you, sir.
How we handle unattended youth in the mall is very, very important. One of the things that youth today bring to us, even though we're marketing to them to come into the shopping center, is teens are grouping together and inadvertently scaring the older persons that are shopping with us. And of course, they are coming into our malls, and some of them are, of course, doing vandalism and creating liabilities for our shopping centers. We certainly have to worry and concern ourselves about how we handle those youths so that we have our liabilities covered in both our personal liability and our corporate liabilities. Remember that we are here to protect the commons area, not the individual merchant stores. Certainly one of our problems is that because merchants pay common area maintenance costs, they believe that we're here to handle their interior security problems, such as shoplifting, such as employee theft, such as bad check charges or credit card fraud. One of the things that we must be sure is that the management staff at any of the malls that we're working at assure the tenant and discuss with the tenant that we are commons area officers. That's very important. One of the ways to do that is for you or your security director to attend merchant meetings. Other ways are, of course, management staff putting in writing for new tenants and existing tenants what your responsibilities are in writing in the tenant manuals, in emergency manuals, and most certainly covering your responsibilities even in the leases.
I'm sorry?
I think he just took something out of my store.
How come you think that?
He was hanging around, he looked real suspicious, and he just was hanging around for a long time.
But you didn't see him take anything?
No, but I really feel.
Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do because you didn't actually witness him take something?
No, I didn't.
Sorry, there's really nothing we can do right now.
Thanks.
I apologize.
No.
Have a good day.
Catch you next time. Thanks.
One of the most common problems we face today in shopping centers is that of the tenants asking us to handle their shoplifting arrests. We must be cognizant of the facts that if we didn't see a shoplifting occur in our presence, it's a misdemeanor. And by going to court, we can't prove that that shoplifting actually occurred. Therefore, we have to be careful of both our personal liability and our corporate liability in protecting both our employer and ourselves. One of the ways in which we can personally assure that tenants are understanding of our corporate and personal liability is that we communicate to them in both our merchant manuals and our emergency manuals that we do not handle shopliftings generally. Let me ask you, what would you do in this situation?
Wait a minute, ma'am. Wait a minute. I need to talk to you. Can I get some assistance, sir?
What?
I think this lady stole something out of my store.
Okay, did you see her steal anything?
I didn't take it.
Well, I didn't see her put it in the bag, but I'm pretty sure she took it.
Okay, well, if you didn't see her take anything, I'd advise you to call the police.
Well, I'd really like to have her arrested.
Okay, well, by me not seeing her take anything and you didn't see her take anything, it's gonna be kind of hard to do that, to detain her.
Well, why can't you arrest her?
Because I didn't see her and you didn't see her.
Well, I think she took it.
Okay, well, you're absolutely sure she had something in her purse?
Well, no, I can't be absolutely sure, but I know that she
Well,
put
if
it
you're
in
not
there.
absolutely sure, then you have to call the police.
I know that she put it in there,
But you just said you're not absolutely sure.
but she put it in there. I didn't see her place it there, but I know she did.
Okay, well, I can advise you, you have to call the police. You're gonna have to call the police.
The situation you just saw demonstrates that if you're involved in a shoplift arrest, you need to be cognizant that in these types of arrests, that the clerk is the one who makes the complaint, not you. You need to know that your mall's policies either do or do not prohibit you from actually involving yourself in a tenant arrest. Most malls have policies that state that you can be there to protect the tenant. Should you be called upon to do that, you need to be very careful in how and what you do while you're with that shoplifter. You're there to protect the tenant. Do not be accusatory to the shoplifter, nor do we want you to engage in conversation with the suspect. Make sure that you advise the tenant right away to call the police department so that the police can be on their way even before the actual arrest is made by the tenant. Remember, since you aren't there to actually effect the arrest and to protect the tenant only, please don't sign police complaints. Make sure that the tenant signs the complaint and that they're the ones that are going to be subpoenaed to go to court because, in fact, they were the ones who witnessed the shoplifting. One of the things that I think is very important for you to realize is that lawsuits occur simply because we were there when a shoplifter may have been caught. However, maybe the shoplifter might not be prosecuted, or maybe the store won't prosecute, or maybe the store employee might quit prior to going to court. If that's the case, and we were involved in the shoplifting arrest, that leaves us personally liable as well as our corporations. We have to be very careful in how we handle those situations.
Okay, did you see her steal anything?
I didn't take it.
Well, I didn't see her put it in the bag, but I'm pretty sure she took it.
Okay, well, if you didn't see her take anything, I'd advise you to call the police.
Here are the important parts to remember in the scenario we just viewed. First, make sure that you understand you are there to protect the tenant when they make the shoplifting arrest. Also, never be accusatory to the shoplifter, and do not engage in unnecessary conversation with them. Also, remember not to sign the police department's complaint in that you did not witness it, therefore you shouldn't be going to court for that situation. Remember, in the shoplifting situation, if the clerk leaves the store's employment, that could potentially leave you holding the bag and the liability. Be careful. And that also proves true of employee theft, credit card fraud, and bad check writing. Remember, a good merchant's relationship consists of constant contact and written policies and procedures prior to the incidents happening.
Try not to hang out in the walkway like this. Break it up.
Okay.
Get in the threes, all right? Yes.
Be nice and high.
Okay. Nope. Hey, remember the rules, all right?
A very complex problem that we in shopping center security tend to have is that we are marketing to our teenagers and to our children, and therefore we're asking them to come to the mall. However, when they do, they tend to come in groups, and groups tend to intimidate the older crowds. So we have to temper the groups of teenagers we allow in the mall, and we have to make sure that we control those individuals. We certainly want them there because of their buying and purchasing power. However, we have to control them while they are here. In addition to the fact that they're just here, they have this very, very diverse dressing code. If the clothes don't fit or don't match, they probably want it. And if you're having a gang problem, please remember that gangs wear both certain colors and certain sports memorabilia to affiliate themselves with a particular gang. This can be a problem to us in the shopping center industry in that, for instance, the UNLV hat, which is the University of Las Vegas, is a very popular teen item. However, if the hat is taken and turned backwards and worn by an individual that's a gang member, what they're actually saying to someone that sees them is that they're the Vice Lords Nation United. Now, of course, you and I know that now. However, do the teens that wear that UNLV hat? Certainly not. Another one might be the Sox, the White Sox baseball cap. Normally worn, that's just a popular style of hat. However, if you take the hat, turn it inside out, it would say XOS, which stands for X Out Slobs. Now, X Out Slobs is nothing more than saying kill all slobs. And slobs to a gang member is another gang member that's not in their particular set. Another way in which teens get confused in their dress is that sometimes persons wear their pants down low up underneath their hips. What that indicates to a normal individual walking around, a teenager in high school, is a fashion statement. However, it certainly means more than that to a gangbanger. When we're approaching these individuals, we must assure that we have the general rule in place, and that is that there are two ways to identify any gangbanger before we approach them. Remember, your shopping center may not want them approached. They may want them simply left alone. You have to find that out prior to approaching them. The last important factor, I think, is that you need to use common sense and have a plan in writing already before you start approaching teenagers and asking them to leave.
Okay, ma'am, what happened?
Well, I've been shopping and I was leaving and I just came across here and tripped and fell, and this is where I landed.
This is a common problem we face in shopping center security programs today, in that we have slip and fall situations that could potentially be fraudulent. We have to be careful on how we handle them, and we have to make sure that we do our documentation. Now, let's take a look at a fraudulent situation.
Sir, you all right?
No, I don't think so. I slipped and I hurt my back.
Hurt your back, sir?
Hurt my back.
Okay. Do you know what you slipped on?
No, I was getting out of the elevator there and I stepped on something and I just slipped and fell. I landed pretty hard on my hip and injured my back.
Okay. 01 and 03, I need a camera and also answer the report by one of the elevators. Let's see. Okay, you say you slipped on like some water or something like that? Or you don't know what you slipped on?
I don't know what it was. I stepped out of there and I just went down.
Okay. Well, sir, I don't see anything on the floor at all that you can slip on.
Well, there must be something there.
Okay, but you say your back is hurting, right?
Yeah, my back is hurting.
Thank you. Well, you want to call an ambulance for you?
I don't think an ambulance is necessary.
But your back is hurting.
My back's hurt. I'd just like you to make a report.
Okay, well, I can do that then. What's your name, sir?
It's Joe.
Joe? Social security number, sir?
Why do you need that?
Well, just for information, sir.
Well, you don't need my social security number to do a report, do you?
You don't want to give your social security number, sir?
Well, I'd rather not.
Okay, well, it's no problem. All right, sir. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
You know, I think I'm going to be okay. I'll just leave.
So you're all right?
I think I'll...
In this last situation, we have to remember that we have to investigate the facts. Now in this case, we have to look at the heels of the shoes. We have to record what type of shoes that he's wearing. We also have to look for any type of liquids that might have been fallen on the floor or that flowed. We also have to make sure that there's anything that anything he says or indicates that might have tripped him is in fact there, because it could be fraudulent. We have to ask him if he'd like assistance. Continually ask him if he'd like the ambulance services and the police calls so that we can get a report directly from them. In many cases, if this is a fraudulent claim, they don't want professional services there. So what they'll do is they'll get up, and sometimes they'll actually leave saying, well, they don't want any of that and they're just going to leave. We still need to do a report in that scenario. However, we need to make sure that, that all of our facts are listed and recorded correctly. We have to treat every situation as though it's real, because even if it is fraudulent, we're going to have to eventually go to court on the situation, and we're going to have the details of the slip and fall with us when we do that. We have to make sure that we do a written report, and in fact, we have to make sure that the individual that may have been hurt, we get as much information on them as possible, all of their personal information. Now, let's take a look at a real slip and fall.
Are you all right, ma'am?
No, I don't think I am. I think I was just tripped over that mat the way it's turned up like that. Going upstairs, I think I've hurt my ankle.
You know how bad it is? Is it hurting you real bad or what?
Yeah, it's bad.
Is it starting to swell?
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to call the ambulance?
I don't think I can get up.
Okay. 0103. I got an incident by mall entrance number 2. I need the camera and also a incident report. Also dial 911. Okay, ma'am, what happened?
Well, I've been shopping and I was leaving and I just came across here and tripped and fell, and this is where I landed.
Okay. So you landed almost in the exact spot?
Well, I don't know. It all happened so fast. I may have rolled and tumbled. I don't know.
And you tripped over this, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Lost my footing there somewhere.
Okay. Les, let me get you to take a picture of this right here. And ma'am, what's your name?
My name is Susan.
Susan? Okay. Okay, ma'am, the ambulance is on the way, but I'm going to have to ask you a couple of questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay, what happened? Exactly.
Well, I came around the corner. I was leaving. I had been shopping here this afternoon. As I came across here, I evidently tripped over this mat that's curled up, and I fell and I hurt my ankle.
Okay.
Swelling.
Okay, you told me your name was Susan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your last name?
Susan Smith.
Okay. Social security number if you want to give it.
In this situation, we need to make sure that we get photographs of the investigation. We need to make sure that we get very accurate personal data of the individual who did slip and fall. We need to make sure that we've already dispatched police officers and or ambulance services, depending on your jurisdiction, and we need to be compassionate. We have to remember, this individual just experienced a slip and fall in our mall, and we need to make sure that they understand that we know how they feel and that we're here to help them. Here are the points one more time. In a real situation, we need to make sure that we take photographs of the scene. We need to make sure that we get very accurate personal data. We need to make sure that the police officers or ambulance services, dependent upon your jurisdiction, are called promptly. And above all, we need to be compassionate. We need to make them understand that we feel for them in that they just did slip and fall in our mall. Another common problem we face in shopping center security is that of the courtesy patrol. What we have to be cognizant of is that if someone comes to us and asks us to break into their vehicle, we need to make sure that, number one, they have identification, and number two, that it's theirs. How do we know that they're not stealing this vehicle? How do we know that, in fact, they didn't go into the parking lot, find a set of keys that are locked in the vehicle, and now they're claiming that that's their vehicle so that we can, in fact, help them steal that vehicle? What would you do as a security officer in this situation? Let's see how one officer handles it.
Excuse me, did somebody over here call for security?
Yes, we did. We locked our keys in the truck there. You can see them hanging there in the ignition.
Okay, well, sir, you have any type of identification on you at all?
Well, it's locked in the truck. It's under the seat.
Okay, and you're stating this truck is yours, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we can go back to my office, and if you want to, you guys can call a locksmith, and you guys can take it from
Is
there.
that the only way you got to get into it?
That's the only way, sir.
Well, maybe I can just call somebody and have them bring them out of their key. I think that'd be better. Let's go back inside and call.
That's a better idea.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
In this situation, how do we know that those individuals, in fact, own this vehicle? By proper questioning and professional handling, our security officer may well have averted a stolen vehicle. Let's remember that we must know a vendor's telephone numbers and have locksmiths available prior to a situation like this happening, because these individuals are despondent as it is, and so we have to make sure that we get them in their vehicles and on their way as quickly as possible. Remember, do not break in the vehicle, as many vehicles today have very fragile mechanisms, and if we break that mechanism, and let's say the vehicle is stolen tomorrow or a week from now, can you potentially be liable for that theft?
Excuse me, anyone you guys call for security?
Yes, we did. We locked our keys in the truck here. You can see them hanging there in the ignition. We want to know if you could help us get in.
Let's also make sure that we use our common sense and keep a professional attitude towards the individuals, remembering that compassion is the key. Hopefully, this segment on retail shopping center legal issues was of value to you. The most important factor in assuring that the shopping center's legal liabilities are limited is to assure that you have a written policy and procedure manual which clearly defines what is expected from you. Remember, as the shopping center's marketing strategies change, so will the security program. So you must be willing to adjust with the times.